Hi, in today's lesson we're going to be talking about the staff. The staff are these lines and spaces in front of you. They're what we write music notes on. Now notice that we have exactly 5 lines in the staff, and spaces in between the lines we're also going to use. There are 4 spaces. Note that we always count from the bottom going up, so the bottom line or the bottom space is always 1. That way we're always talking about them the same. Now in band music, we're going to generally use 2 different staffs, and the way we tell them apart is by the symbol at the beginning of them, or the clef sign. Here's one of them. This is called the treble clef. It's used for all of the woodwinds and some of the brass instruments and keyboard percussion. This is the other one, and it's called the bass clef. And it's used for some of the lower sounding brass instruments and also for timpani in percussion. Let's talk about each of these clefs one at a time. First, the treble clef. Every line and every space in the treble clef is going to have a letter name, one of the letters from our musical alphabet of A through G, starting with the bottom line being named E. Following from E, if we go up to the next space, it's named F. Following from a space to a line, we're just following our alphabet, and its name is G. Now, by the way, that treble clef also has another name. Sometimes it's called the G clef. Can you guess why? See that little curly Q on it? It circles around the G line. Yep, the G clef. So continuing on from line to a space, we can name the rest of our lines and spaces following our musical alphabet. Some people come up with little sayings to remember just the lines, like every good boy does fine, or just the spaces spell a name. Some folks are more comfortable just remembering the bottom line is E and follow your alphabet from line to a space. Let's talk about the bass clef next. The bottom line in bass clef uses the letter name G. So different than the treble clef. Going from G to the next space, what's the next letter going to be? There's no letter H. Right, it's A. We start all over again with our musical alphabet. And then going from a line to a space and so on, we can fill in the rest of our musical alphabet on each line and space. Again, some folks come up with a saying of good boys do fine always, or good burritos don't fall apart, or something like that to remember the lines. Or something like, all cars eat gas, or all cows eat grass, to remember the spaces. For me and many others, we just remember that the bottom line is G, and we follow our alphabet from line to space and line to space. Now, when we write music on the staff, we divide our staff into segments, little chunks of the staff, and we use lines to divide the staff up. Each of these lines in the staff has a name, and they're called bar lines. Now the space in between those bar lines also has a name, and it's called a measure. Again, that's the space in between each bar line. So for instance, in this example, how many measures do you see? That's right, there are 4 measures. Usually at the end of a piece of music or a section of music, we're going to have a special bar line called a double bar line. Sometimes in music you'll see a thin line and a thick line, which means you've reached the very end of a piece of music, which is appropriate because we've reached the very end of this lesson on the staff.